Welcome to the Sports Lodge Podcast. As always, here are your hosts, Joey Chapman and John Lodge.
Welcome inside the Sports Lodge on this November the 27th. As always, Joey Chapman, John Lodge with you. And Johnny, let's jump right into it. We got another firing in the NHL, but this time it's not a coach. The first general manager to go was Ron Hextall. Gets the axe in Philadelphia. Paul Holmgren and company have decided no longer on the same page when it comes to running a hockey organization. This one took me by surprise when I got the news Monday morning, John. How do you feel about it?
Co-signed on that pink slip, Andreas Janssen, courtesy of the hat trick.
Yeah, basically, it's tough to say the Maple Leafs were all of to do with this Hextall firing, but
no, but they were definitely the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, and Andreas Janssen, those 3 goals in 13 minutes or whatever it was, certainly does
all
not
5
help.
hole, all 3.
Yeah.
So, Hextall being fired, it is kind of a surprise because of his ties to the organization, right? And these teams and owners seem to have a sense of loyalty, but out the door he goes. They do keep Hextall for now, and I think that's because the GM that's in place right now maybe not be the GM of the future, one of those just for now kind of guys, and see where we go. Because he'll want to hire a new GM is definitely going to want to hire their own coach.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what they're doing for the interim GM for now. I don't know if Holmgren's going to resume that position again. He's obviously been a GM in the past. He's still the president down there in Philadelphia, or if they've promoted somebody within. To me, though, Johnny, this has Hextall's name. His name's just written all over it, right? I think we've seen a couple coaching changes already in the league, and I think probably in Philadelphia that's what they were looking to do too, and Hextall said, no, I'm not firing my guy. I'm going to keep him here. I think this is the right guy, and obviously ownership and Holmgren decided against that. So I think this is the first step. They got rid of Hextall. If you read the press release, they really didn't mince their words, basically saying that they were done with this organization or they were done with Hextall, and that they didn't think they were on the same page anymore.
Yeah, no, I'm just reading that now.
Right.
Just a difference in philosophy, and Holmgren needed to make a change. And how long until Hextall gets the axe? Who knows? But
I don't think it's going to be much longer, John. I think unless the players can turn it around, if this is enough of a jumping off wake up for the players on the ice. But if Hextall can't get it together, then I think he'll be heading back to college where he came from. Moving on, though, Johnny, another incident in the NHL has us questioning player safety. I'm not quite sure how you feel about it, but Anton Roussel gets the max fine, a $5,000 suspension for biting the hand of Marc-Edouard Vlasic, and he basically came out and said, hey, if you don't want me to bite you, don't shove your hand in my mouth. And that's a pretty good, I can understand his argument too. John, where do you lie on this, and do you think the league got it right in not suspending Anton Roussel?
The punishment fits the crime. I mean, if he outwardly went and bit at him in that motion where he moves towards, then you need to suspend because he's attacking somebody with the bite. But I'm looking at the freeze frame right now. And Vlasic has his arm in and extended into Roussel's mouth. So I can see, yeah, you got to fine him, but you don't suspend him. You put your hand in my mouth, man, I'm probably going to bite you too.
Oh, man, I don't know if, Johnny, I know you didn't grow up playing hockey, but your hockey gloves smell worse than anything on God's green earth. It's the worst. I can only imagine having somebody's fingers in there trying to scratch your molars. Yeah, I'd bite them too. I know it always looks bad when these sort of things come up, and it's tough to describe it. I think probably the way you did it is best, John. As funny as it sounds, he didn't go out of his way to attack him with his teeth, right? He just bit down, and there happened to be someone's hand in there, and that's probably. I did like his reaction to it. I think we're both on the same page here, John. But I think we might have some disagreement on our next topic of the day, because the Chicago continues to shake things up on our topic number 3 here on the Sports Lodge. And this time they make a bit of a trade. It's a 2-for-1. Nick Schmaltz heading to the Arizona Coyotes in exchange for Dylan Strome and Nick Perlini as a bunch
Brandon Perlini,
excuse me. Thanks, Johnny. As a bunch of first-rounders get swapped here as both teams looking to get some fresh starts. Let's start looking at it from the Chicago side, John. They get Strome and Perlini for the price of one. Do you think they're going to be able to reinvigorate Dylan Strome, and what are your thoughts on the trade?
Dylan Strome was drafted before Mitch Marner.
Yes, he was.
That's my thought.
Well,
anyone with the last name Strome, hasn't someone learned that last name's not very good? Like his brother was just traded twice in the matter of a whole season, and Dylan really has had a hard time coming up with Arizona. I think Arizona got better. I really do. I don't know what's going on in Chicago. This can't be a salary thing. I mean, the head coach was gone. If they can't turn it around, how long till Bowman's next on the list?
Yeah, it is definitely a salary thing a little bit, John, just because they're both locked up through the next 2 years at entry-level contracts, so it's sustainable for the Chicago Blackhawks for the next couple of years. They know they have salary. They know at least where that salary is, and they think they can turn Dylan Strome into a second, third-line center, and if you can get that for under $1 million, I think you're probably pretty happy with it, especially when you're paying Johnny Taves, 10.5, and Patty Kane 10.5 each. But I like this trade a lot for the Arizona Coyotes, or not for the Coyotes, for the Blackhawks, because you reunite Strome with DeBrincat, a guy he had a lot of success with in junior, and you said it, John, he was drafted ahead of Mitch Marner. This guy is always lit up every age group he's ever been in. He's been one of the best players. I know his skating isn't great, but he's still only 21. Like, who's to say guys don't get better? I know we're in such a we want our prospects to jump in and be successful now kind of league, kind of world that we live in, and it doesn't matter the sport, hockey, football, baseball, we want it now. But I think Dylan Strome's the type of prospect that you knew it was going to take some work, but he's a 6'3" center who's led junior in scoring multiple years. Like, I think you have to take a shot on this guy, and if he can learn from anybody and become a better player, I think playing behind Jonathan Taves certainly can't hurt. And hey, maybe throw Patty Kane on his wing. That might help too.
Well, yeah, I mean, playing with the likes of 2 future Hall of Famers, that's definitely 2 future Hall of Famers. Well, 4, 5, 6 future Hall of Famers on that team. Because the defensive core is going to be in the Hall of Fame too. Let's not kid ourselves. 3 Stanley Cups. So,
well, Keith's in for sure. Seabrook's probably in with his gold medals too with the Olympics, but yeah,
but like either way, like
yeah,
lots of
Hall
of Famers.
Now that I think about it, probably.
So I mean, he will hopefully be better. Like he was a 3rd overall draft pick, right? So he should be better. But I mean, I just until I see it, I'm not going to believe it. And Nick Schmaltz said 9 assists, 2 goals. That's pretty good. And so right now, Arizona wins this trade for me.
Yeah, to me, John, the biggest tiebreaker is Perlini. I think Perlini's got a higher upside. I know his numbers haven't been great. I know you have them there in front of you, but they haven't been absolutely stellar. But he's a legit NHL player, I think. He can play on a 3rd, 4th line and be a young contributor with high upside. He's, like I said, he's a first-round pick. And I know John Chaika's comments were kind of harsh when he said there's a difference between waiting for players to develop and hoping for players to develop, right? And so did you not hear that? Yeah,
no.
That's basically what he said, giving up on Strome and Perlini. So, and I don't love Nick Schmaltz that much. Like, it's not like Chicago's a team where I think you should be picking at the carcass and expecting to get a top 2 center out of it. Do you? Like, I think they're like behind Jonathan Taves and Patrick Kane up front. It's pretty bare when you're trying to look for depth forwards in Chicago, and it has been the last couple of years. So, to me, I really like this deal from the Chicago Blackhawks standpoint, and I hope for them that they can find a way to get better, and I hope for Dylan Strome that he finds a way to get better, because this kid was playing with Connor McDavid and Jr. lighting the world on fire, and I can't imagine he thought this was how his NHL career was going to start.
No, he's definitely had a struggle starting off his NHL career, and I mean, He's not Nick Schmaltz. Talking about Schmaltz, sorry, he's not at the talent level of a Strome or the potential talent level of a Strome. But I think that with the youth and the skill that the Coyotes can possess, not that they have, but that they can possess, they need more of that gritty, hard hitting, sturdy, stable sort of guy, and Nick Schmaltz fits that bill for them. So that's why I think they win it. But I mean, all it takes is 2 good months at a Dylan Strome and a hot run. You know, he puts up like a 20 spot in points, and then I'm eating my words.
Yeah.
So
we will have to see. Let's move on, John, because we have a signing in baseball. It's been quiet in the baseball front, really, despite the winter meetings happening and some talk happening around baseball. We finally get our first signing, and it's one that interests up here in Toronto. Josh Donaldson inks a 1-year deal, shocking, with Alex Anthopoulos and the Atlanta Braves. I would have guessed this if you had asked me a long time ago. This doesn't really shock me at all. The money, however, is a bit surprising. $23 million for JD on a 1-year deal. Johnny, what are your first thoughts when you heard this yesterday?
Well, it's a far cry from the 35 he wanted,
I guess
or something
so,
like that. So, doesn't surprise me that he landed in Anthopoulos, and hell, right down to the head athletic trainer. It's the guys he had in Toronto. So he's a guy who's a creature of habit, and he likes to be comfortable, and Alex Anthopoulos is bringing in dudes he's comfortable with. My question is how long until he trades for Edwin Encarnacion? Because at the end of the season, it was made known that he is on the trading block for the Cleveland organization. Give them props. Got rid of Chief Wahoo.
Yeah, you've been on that mission for a while. I don't know. Like, obviously, Cleveland wasn't going to re-sign Josh Donaldson. They gave up nothing to get him, so that wasn't a problem for them. It's going to be interesting to see him in the NL. I'm glad Josh Donaldson's not playing in the AL, and we're going to see him a lot anymore. Or, yeah, he's in the NL with the Atlanta Braves. Yeah. So, I have my facts right off the top of my head. And I'm happy for Josh Donaldson. $23 million, another 1-year deal. Like, look, obviously he looked at the market and said, I'm not going to get these 5 years, $100 million contract or $200 million contract that I'm looking for. He's 33 years old. Take your $23 million and put it in the bank. I got no problem with it. Good for Josh Donaldson. Good for Alex Anthopoulos. And the Braves, that were already a good, young, athletic baseball team, add a veteran former MVP to their infield, and they're going to be able to platoon him there in Atlanta, and I think this is a real good situation for everybody. And it was his hometown team, apparently. He said he grew up watching it. He was happy to go back. Sorry, John, I didn't mean to jump on you there, but
no, it's good.
I wanted to throw that in.
No, I just came to the realization that Edwin Encarnacion's probably not getting traded to an NL team. Because he would have to play first base all the time. Yeah, and he's good, but he would have to play first base all the time.
And I think he's proven he can play first base, but you definitely don't want to have to have him at
first base is kind of occupied by Freddie Freeman, though, on that team.
That's true. They that Atlanta team's pretty talented.
So, on the infield. I mean, as much as I could laugh about it, because I could totally see Anthopoulos pulling it off. If he had a spot for him there, he'd trade for Encarnacion, no doubt, but definitely not going to happen. Good for Donaldson. He maximized on the money he could have gotten. I think he only gets $19 million, maybe $20 from another team, but he got a little bit of extra because the GM likes him.
Yeah, and I think that goes a long way too, right? This deal got done, the relationship is good, and sometimes that's all you need, right? It's just when you get two guys that like each other, they get in a room and they get it done. And that's what Anthopoulos did here, and I think it's a shrewd move. Somehow, John, we've gone to topic 5 without talking football, so we're going to get into it now. The Houston Texans won their 8th in a row yesterday, beating up on the Tennessee Titans, who once again suffer from the beating the Patriots hangover, as they just looked pretty flat last night on Monday Night Football, not being able to put up a lot, as Deshaun Watson and Lamar Miller have finally decided to wake up, and that offense rolling along in Houston. John, is this team for real?
Yeah, I mean, Deshaun Watson definitely wants you to think it's for real, and I mean, after losing Will Fuller, you would have thought that they would have taken a dip, but they added Demaryius Thomas, and they really haven't lost a step. They had that one bad loss, I believe it was last week, and they bounced right back. Deshaun Watson is literally, I think we were talking about it on the last episode, the evolution of the quarterback that runs and can stay durable but also is pass first. And he's the model that guys like Mariota are going to have to follow later on in their careers because they're not going to be able to run as much as they do now. He's the, I don't want to call him the perfect quarterback because that's not true, but he's what you really want for a quarterback. He's a guy that he's not going to get sacked all the time because he can use his legs and he knows how to use them right. He's a running back who also can throw the ball really well.
Yeah, if you were going to design a build your own quarterback Madden style, it looks a lot like Deshaun Watson. Big, strong, can throw the ball on the run from in the pocket, can do it all. It's just, you got to turn that awareness rating all the way up sometimes, and that's where his struggles have been. But he's still a young not rookie quarterback, but young quarterback in the NFL. And shit, John, it's a tough league, man. Like there's a lot going on. Mike Vrabel coaches a real good defensive squad, and even despite that last night, he found a way to look pretty good. Lamar Miller to me is the biggest change. He the first few weeks of the year, he was absolutely terrible, could not get it together for this Houston Texans team as they struggled to run the ball, but they've really found this new identity, and you mentioned them acquiring DT at the trade deadline. To me, you saw it a lot with Tim Tebow too. That guy's a hell of a blocker on the outside, and you saw that last night a couple times when they were able to bounce it outside. Demaryius Thomas uses his blocking ability, and they're moving the ball down the field in Houston, and Billy O'Brien, once again, is going to get that team into a playoff spot.
Yeah, they definitely look really good, and good blocking by Thomas. A 97-yard run by Lamar Miller. And that's the second time he's done that in his career.
It's
so
ridiculous.
I mean, that's like your 100-yard rushing game for your running back in one play.
Basically, it's a good day for those who had Lamar Miller on their fantasy team, I assume, or whoever took him in daily fantasy. Either. Do you got anything more on the football game from Monday Night Football, Johnny?
No, I want to move on to Cleveland.
Yeah, because this is where it gets sexy, right?
Yeah. This was an interesting game.
Absolutely. Well, there was a couple. Let's start with the game itself, because the game itself ended up being an absolute blowout. Probably the biggest shocker of the week for me, with the Browns just putting a ass kicking on the Bengals. But the side story of that is obviously Andy Dalton going out and being put on the IR. He's probably not going to come back this year, so that's a big loss.
Confirmed out for the season.
Right, so that's a big loss for the Bengals. But either way, losing, what did they lose by, 30 points to the Browns, John?
15. It was 35-20.
35-20, but it was like 30 to
yeah,
nothing at one point. It was
28-7 at half.
Yeah, it was a beat down early. First about the game, John. Do you have any, how is this happening in Cincinnati?
It's just the regular old Marv Lewis sort of style stuff, and how long is this guy going to be around? Andy Dalton, this whole regime they need a complete turnover in Cincinnati. AJ Green is injured all the time, and when he's not injured, he's double teamed, so you can't throw to him anyway. So I think the Bengals are trash. They're that team that can never get past the middle. They keep hitting that glass ceiling. So, and for them, that glass ceiling is Pittsburgh, because they're never gonna surpass the Steelers.
Well, apparently Cleveland now too. That team, they're the bottom of the AFC or the AFC North now. That team's an absolute laughingstock, and it doesn't get any better. Highlighted by the fact that the defensive players are handing the ball to Hugh Jackson after interceptions. That was great. Absolutely hilarious, and nothing Jackson can do. And
slaps his buddy on the helmet.
And then, of course, Baker Mayfield's comments post-game, and I don't think people made a big deal about the handshake. People wanted to make a big deal of that. That I don't care about as much, the handshake instead of bro hug on the field. But obviously, Baker Mayfield's comments post-game, there's not a lot of love lost between those former Browns players and their old head coach.
No, but I mean, like how it's like years of frustration and built up tension. So I like give it a year. It's like 2 weeks removed. I'm sure maybe not Baker Mayfield because it's his first year there, but a
Mm-hmm.
couple of guys who were playing under him through his tenure, they'll have fond memories of him in a little bit. But right
Are you
now, it's
sure
still too
though, John?
fresh.
Like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah, I do
You're gonna
because
have fond memories of 0-16, 1 and
not of
15.
the team, of the person.
Ah,
Like I think of the like you get past it just being the game and you realize, like you said, this is a really tough league and some guys just weren't meant to be where they're at, like Hugh Jackson. Maybe he's not supposed to be a head coach,
no, he's not.
right?
The guy's
So
gonna finish with the worst winning percentage as a head coach in history because they shouldn't have let him coach this long. Like there's never gonna be a team that goes 1-15, then 0-16, and says we're gonna keep our head coach. Like it's just never gonna happen again. I almost felt bad for Hugh Jackson, but this guy's just. You're right, John. He's not meant to be a head coach, and you're never gonna see it again in the NFL. You can't justify it. Imagine bringing that to your fans. Imagine writing that on a press release. This guy is 1-40 as a head coach, but we're really excited about what he brings to our organization. Like, you just can't do it.
the only time he's going to get a head coaching spot is interim when they fire the other dude and they don't want to hire somebody else.
Maybe, yeah, well, shit, they might fire Marvin Lewis in Cincinnati and promote Hugh Jackson. How fucked up would that
There you
world be?
go.
Oh, my God.
There you go. That's exactly how it happens now.
Do you have any problem with Baker Mayfield's comments, though, John? Or
No, I just watched I got the clip or the stats up here, and they have a highlight reel going. I watched the handshake over and over. They had it playing on, and it was like, well, yeah, there's definitely as cold of a good game handshake as you can give, as much of a I have to shake your hand or I'm getting a fine.
Well,
So
yeah, just trying to. You have to do it for appearances, right? You're on the field, shake his hand. It's
yeah,
1 second. It's better than refusing to shake his hand.
yeah, it makes you look really bad, right?
That would be a whole different set of animals, and I think Baker Mayfield knows what he's doing when it comes to media.
He looks like a dangerous man.
Right? He's felt dangerous again, as that was a big division win for the Browns, and they just keep winning, and only good things for Cleveland, as everybody, I think, roots for the Browns, is that they've just been so bad for so long. Speaking of teams that have been so bad for so long, John, despite a bit of success last year, making it all the way to the AFC Championship game, the Jacksonville Jaguars and Blake Bortles seem to be a marriage doomed from the beginning of the year. Ever since beating the Patriots in Week 2, this Jacksonville team has just been completely atrocious, capped off with just a bad loss on Sunday, and now announced Blake Bortles going to be benched on Sunday's game, and they fired their offensive coordinator. To me, John, this is just the first of a few changes coming in Jacksonville at the end of the year, but does any of it surprise you, seeing Bortles benched or the OC fired?
The only reason it surprises me that Bortles was benched is because they actually did it.
Right?
Not that he doesn't belong there. That guy belonged on the bench halfway through year one, and he didn't belong off of it after that. Decent year last year, mostly predicated by the amazing defense and the running of Leonard Fournette, which hasn't been up to his level from last year because he's been injured. My big question here is what jersey is Jalen Ramsey wearing next year?
Well, you think they're going to cut Jalen Ramsey?
I think they're cutting or trading him. I think that they're not going to pay him. And I think that especially if they're going to be rebuilding and they can get draft picks or they can get something for them or they can get out from under it, I think they will. So
I don't think this team's rebuilding, John. I think they're win now. I think they need to go get a... What are you talking about? Like, they're just a team with... Their defense is pretty good when they can play. Jalen Ramsey's a legit number one corner, and I think I really like their front end. I've seen this football team and that defense be really good, and it's not a lot of differences from that team last year where that defense was so good it rode them to an AFC Championship game, John. It's really not, and I thought they got better defensively. Clearly it hasn't been the case, but when you lose to Buffalo like they did yesterday, or on Sunday, things are going to happen, but I don't think it's the defense's problem. I think clearly they think Blake Bortles and not being able to move the ball up and down the field is an issue. I'm not saying the way that Allen was able to throw it all up and down isn't a problem, but 2 weeks ago you saw Jalen Ramsey shut down Antonio Brown against Pittsburgh, right? And not a lot of people can do that in this league. So And I think that defense is the strength. I think they're going to try and rally around Jalen Ramsey and rally around that defensive core and find a quarterback in the offseason. That's the type of direction I think they're going to go in. But if Jalen Ramsey's available, I think there's going to be a lot of teams interested, my friend.
That is where we differ. I mean, all respect to Jalen Ramsey. This is why I think he's not going to be why he's not going to be in a Jaguars jersey next season. He's too valuable. He's going to cost too much money. And quarterbacks, you can't just pluck those guys off of a tree and be super successful. I mean, I see this team needing to rebuild, and he's the quickest path to that because you can get the most for him. The defense is fantastic, but just the offense is that bad. How long is Leonard Fournette going to hold up for? How bad are these injuries? It's surprising to me. And I mean, who are you going to get in the offseason? You're not going to draft a guy and plug him in unless you're finishing the bottom.
Well, they are. They're right at the bottom of the league, Johnny.
Or you're trading for somebody else's pick. And I mean, I'm not hearing a lot about a franchise quarterback coming up in this draft. And available on the free agent market is not going to be much. Teddy Bridgewater, maybe. And yeah, that could be a good fit. Maybe. Chase Daniels, CJ Beathard.
No, I hear you, but right now it's Blake Bortles, right? And I think like you got to do something about it because the boat's just not playing like he needs to, and it's just not happening for him. And he just misses too many easy things, and he can't seem to figure it out. I have a tough time selling rebuild to this Jacksonville team and the organization and the fan base. They've been rebuilding since 2002. How long are you gonna rebuild for before you decide like they were in the AFC Championship game last year, so I think they will, or at least I would certainly try and ride.
Bortles was playing at way over.
But it was the defense that carried them too, and I think they're willing to pay that defense. And Tom Coughlin's proven that he can find talent, and he was on the radio today saying things are going to change. I think Doug Marrone's probably gone.
Oh, he's done
in Jacksonville too. There's going to be a lot of head coaching changes in that one. I think we're just waiting for the end of the year, Johnny. Moving on, that's all the football I had. The Patriots beat the Jets. Life's all good there. Nothing else really crazy besides Aaron Rodgers losing in Minnesota, but that basically just eliminates Aaron Rodgers from playoff contention, which, doesn't make me too sad. So much for the greatest of all time, Aaron Rodgers. Moving on, Patrick Marleau, John, did something that only 17 guys in the history of the NHL have done. That's 1,600 games played. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't get done in the NHL. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's the equivalent to 19 and a half seasons basically playing every game. To me, he's a lock Hall of Famer. Is there any doubt in your mind when he hangs him up?
No doubt. Definitely a lock Hall of Famer. The dude, he's won gold medals. The only thing he hasn't won is a Stanley Cup, and if he can stay on this team long enough, he's probably going to knock that off his list, knock on wood. Great for him. And people were talking about how he's kind of not worth the money, and I can see that. He's definitely causing some salary issues. He did look like he lost a step early in the season, but I think he's picked it back up recently. He's definitely got his speed going, and he seems to be right in the middle of it every time there's a scoring play for that line. So, definitely earning his salary right now. Patty Marleau, just outstanding. A certified Hall of Famer, and I mean, he's probably going in right alongside Jumbo Joe. They'll go in as a pair because they spent a lot of time together.
Yeah, whenever they both retire, they're probably both going in together. If they both retired the same year, because those two are probably both lock first ballot guys, just the amount of games that they've played. I was reading a James Myrtle article on Marleau in The Athletic this morning, John, and basically, if he plays out the rest of his contract and plays every game with the Maple Leafs, he'll be only 52 games behind Gordie Howe for most all-time.
Doesn't that make you want to sign another one if you can get it?
But it's absolutely... he'll be 42 by then.
Oh, it'll be insane,
right? But that, you have...
Veteran minimum?
That's what we're talking about here. As soon as you hit the 16,000 or 1,600 plateau, like you start passing everybody. He's like 17th on the list. He'll be 10th if he plays like 25 more games, right? It's so rare to get to this number, and the fact it's gonna be Gordie Howe, Mark Messier, Patrick Marleau. Like he's gonna be up there in the top 5 of all time's game played leaders when it's all said and done. And knock on wood for Patty, he stays healthy.
Stick around.
So kind of a juxtaposition, Johnny, and I just wanted to use that word only. I think it's applicable here, so we're going to use it. Speaking about 1,600 games played, 19 and a half basically seasons, you got to play every game. For Willy Nylander, if he ever dreams of playing that many games in the NHL, he's got to get his ass back in the league. Luckily for us, and luckily for everybody involved, this is it. This is the last week of the William Nylander saga. He has up until Saturday at 5 p.m. to sign a contract, or he will not be able to play in the NHL this season. Where the countdown is on, John. I still think he's a Maple Leaf by 5 o'clock on Saturday. How are you feeling about it as of now?
T-minus 4 days, 4 hours, 7 minutes, and however many seconds till the deadline passes. Did you see Berger getting everybody's blood boiled yesterday?
No. What'd he say?
Said that
the sign and trade?
Said it was done.
Oh,
they
what?
Said that the Leafs had signed William Nylander and he was waiting on an announcement. He has since removed that tweet.
Who wrote that? Howard Berger?
Howard Berger.
Oh no, Howard.
So,
oh my God, his Twitter must have been an absolute disaster zone yesterday.
Oh, it's either one of two things, right? You only remove that tweet for one of two reasons. One, whoops, I shouldn't have said that because that's wrong. Or two, whoops, I shouldn't have said that, and someone from the Leafs organization said, take that the fuck down.
No, it
so
wouldn't matter.
I don't know what
he's wrong.
I would think it's the first one than the second one, to be honest. But if the Leafs want to be the ones to announce it, I can see someone. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I think he's a Maple Leaf.
I think so
that
too.
I was fairly certain after I heard this take. People are thinking that the Leafs are dealing from a position of weakness in the William Nylander situation, but they could literally make him sit out the next 4 years doing this. So,
well, yeah, he's got no rights, right? So
he's going to sign because you're not like the Leafs are good and they're not going to trade him for nothing. They know how good he is, and they'd be totally fine leaving him to just sit on the shelf and not get injured.
Well, and the thing is, there's so many guys who are going to be in the same category next year. I don't know if you subscribe to The Athletic, Johnny, but basically they broke it down. There's like 7 guys that are in the same situation as Nylander next year. Names like Braden Point, Matthew Tkachuk, Ristolainen in Colorado. There's a bunch of these young players who are Kyle Connor in Winnipeg. These guys that are all going to be looking for the same money. They're all going to be looking for the Draisaitl deal. Because Jack Eichel and Leon Draisaitl have fucked this up so badly for every other organization. These poor owners that just gave these guys whatever they wanted have made it so top-heavy where, of course, William Nylander's looking at it and going, I'm better than Draisaitl, give me 8-5. Brady Tkachuk's going to go, or Matthew Tkachuk's going to go, I'm an assistant captain and a 20-plus goal scorer and the heartbeat of this team. Oh, I think I'm pretty good too. Where's my $8 million? Like, apparently William Nylander's the bar everybody's sitting at, and I think it's going to get done. I just hope it's for something less. I just hope it's 6.25, 6.5 in that range for a long-term deal. If that can get done, I think we'll all be looking at each other going, what the hell took so long? But at the end of the day, going through this process, I think, is important for the Leafs and for everybody, and for Nylander, just to prove how serious they have been in this entire situation. Quickly though, John, last from your boy Howard Berger, nothing official yet, but Nylander is in town apparently. I's being dotted, T's being crossed, hang on in, it's done as of 3 hours ago. So
here's my thing though. as of 33 minutes before we started this podcast, so that would have been 12 o'clock, TSN reported that he was skating with a under 20 team in Sweden.
Yeah, I saw that too.
How can he be in Toronto and skating with an under 20 team in Sweden?
Well, he could have skated with the team yesterday and hopped on a flight today, right? Like
maybe.
Right?
It's interesting. Before we get out of here, I know we're running long,
That's
but
okay.
David Pasternak had some interesting comments. Did you get to catch them? And if so, what did you think about them?
Absolutely. I heard the Pasternak comments, and I liked what he had to say. I think that's the right mentality. You can't be worrying about how much someone else is getting paid. I know you'd like to be the highest paid player in hockey, but it's not always realistic. You signed a deal, you're happy with it, you're still making a shit ton of money, and sometimes you just got to be happy with what you got. And I think if you can't find a way to be happy and live with $6.5 million a year, then that's probably on you, man.
Yeah, a little bit of heartfelt message there too from Pasternak, saying he misses his dinners with his good buddy Nylander. So hopefully they can get him to town quick so that so they can rekindle their friendship.
Well, let's hope Willy can get them drunk before they play the Leafs.
I just got an NHL update. Austin Matthews says he's ready to play Wednesday.
Oh, well, that's interesting. We will see.
So we will see what happens there.
Interesting. Wednesday against that is Carolina. No, San Jose Wednesday, excuse me. The Sharks coming to town, Erik Karlsson and company. So we'll have to see if Matthews comes back. That'll be interesting.
You imagine they get them both back in the lineup?
That'd be nice. I think either way, even if Nylander signs today, I think it's probably a week. Like, if he signed today, I don't think you'd see him till December 1st, which is Saturday. I think you'd save him till Saturday night anyway. You give him a couple games, let him get accumulated. You don't want to rush him into Wednesday.
No, I get it, but the inner sports fan in me wants to, see Kyle Dubas do something like, when they released the starting lineup 5 p.m. before the game, William Nylander just happens to be on Austin Matthews' wing.
Well, that's what, if they could just keep it secretive, it's just like, all right, they signed the contract. I don't want it to get that stressful. I don't think my heart can take it. But if we did get there, it'll certainly be a nail-biter. Carl Alsner also, as of recording this, he clears waivers. So
yeah. So remember when people were saying that the Leafs should have signed Alsner? I remember saying on the radio show on Riot that Alsner's a turnstile and will never be a good defenseman. And now he's been put on waivers and is now going to play for the Rocket or whatever team they have down there.
The Laval Rocket? Yeah, I don't know what the hell they're doing. Who cares? Carl Alsner. Sorry, buddy. If you were making less money, I think you'd probably find a home, but that is too much cap hit for not enough production. All right, Johnny, let's get out of here. We're nearing the 35-minute mark of this thing. I got nothing else. You got anything more for the people?
Big game coming up on Thursday, but we'll talk about it on the radio show. Golden State coming into town to face the Raptors. Number one team in the NBA facing the perceived best team in the NBA.
Have to see how the Raps do and see if Kawhi and company can get it back together here. As always, we'll talk about that on the radio at rightradio.ca on Thursday. This has been the Sports Lodge. I've been Joey Chapman. That's Johnny Lodge. Thanks so much for listening. Like, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. Here's the extra.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Lodge podcast. Follow the show on Twitter at SportsLodgeRR. And be sure to listen live every Thursday at noon on rightradio.ca.